Hi everyone, I wish your day is fine. Today we're gonna introduce a new part of English. You will have poetry for the first time. So let me be honest with you. At first, you may feel that poetry is a little hard and difficult, but soon, and after a very short time, you will find poetry easier than you can expect. Trust me, whatever you feel right now, it's a normal feeling. And we need to start with the question which comes to your mind when you listen to the word poetry. What is poetry? What does this word means? And as you can see on the screen that poetry is a piece of writing which is written to express the inner feelings of the poet in a beautiful language. I can feel that you didn't understand. Yeah, I know that. Because if you need to understand what does it mean poetry, we must know a very important word like the word poem and another important word like the word poet. So here we can understand two words at first and then we can guess what does it mean poetry. Poetry has two words. The first one is the word poem, and poem is a piece of writing arranged in lines which usually have a regular rhyme. And as a secret, you can say that poem is a written song. So if it's a hard definition for you, if the word poem is hard in this two lines, you can say that poem is a written song. Yes, great. So the word poem means a written song. And Miss, you said that the word poem is a written song. Who writes poem? Yes, this is the next question. Who writes poem? The poet is the person who writes poetry. The poet is the person who writes poems. So we have two important words again and again and again. Poem is a written song, and poet is the person who writes poems. And here we can say that we have three words in the word poetry, and it consists of two words. Poem is the written song and poet who writes poems. So when I say the word poem, of course you will hear the word stanza. What's this word? Yes. This is a new word you may hear when you have a poetry lesson. The word stanza here is a group of lines which expresses one idea. If you feel that this is a lot of words and new words, we can have an example about these two or three words. Here we can say that this is an example. Here, this is like the first poem in your term. We will have it in detail after that, but I will use it right now just for example. We can see that the first poem here is, the title is Day, so all of these lines is the poem. Because, can you remember the word poem, what does it mean? Yes, it's a written song. So all of these lines, this is the poem. Okay, can you remember what does it mean poet? What does the word poet mean? Yeah, the word poet means the person who writes the poem. So if I said to you that the poem is called Day and it's written by Sir Cecil Sprang Rice. So who is the poet here? Yes, you can say it. The poet here is Sir Cecil Sprang Rice, and this is the poem and the poet. What does it mean, the word stanza? Because we said here that the word stanza is a group of lines which expresses one idea. So if we go to the example again, we can say that here I can find that these four lines are one stanza, and these 4 lines are one stanza. So here we can see that on the screen I can see 2 stanzas. How many stanzas can you see? 2 stanzas. The first stanza expresses one idea, and he talks about one idea about the sea. So this is a group of lines expresses one idea. This is the first stanza. And the second stanza here, a group of lines expresses one idea, and he is talking about the rain. So this is the second stanza. So I think that from this example we can understand what does it mean poem and poet and the word stanza. So here we can say that after that we will go to another word. You can hear in poetry question in your exam. We can go to the word paraphrase. Yes. This is another word you will meet in your poetry question in your exam. You will find the word paraphrase. So when you see this word, what do you need to do? Yes, the word paraphrase is to explain what the poet says or writes in a shorter and clearer way. So when you need to paraphrase the stanza, you will ask yourself one question. What does the poet need to say to us? So you will read the stanza first, and then you will try to understand what does the poet say to us in this stanza, and then you will express. You will write what did you understand from these lines. So after writing, that means that you paraphrased the stanza. So paraphrase, can you say it again? Yes, this word is paraphrase. And what does it mean? It means to explain what the poet says or writes in a shorter and clearer way. So after reading the stanza, you will paraphrase it. It means you will explain it and tell us what you understand from the stanza. And then we still have 2 words we need to talk about. One of them is the word rhyme scheme. Again, try to repeat after me. Rhyme scheme, and we have the word figures of speech. So we still have 2 important words. After them, we can say that we finished. So what does it mean, rhyme scheme? Rhyme scheme, we can say that it's the ending with the same sounds in a poem. So like that. Can you hear? I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high over vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils. So you can feel that there is a tune like that. And here we can say that the rhyme scheme is like the tune you say the poem with. Miss, how can I guess or find the rhyme scheme in the exam? How can I find them? Okay, if you want to answer this part in your exam, or if you want to understand what does it mean rhyme scheme, of course you need to focus on the last sound of each line in the stanza. Again, if you need to answer this question or to find the rhyme scheme, you need to focus on the last sound of each line in the stanza. And by the way, each line or each sound, it always starts with letter A. If the next line ends with the same sound, it also takes A. If it ends with a different sound, it takes letter B and then D and so on. And to make it clear, we can try with this example on the screen. I wandered lonely as a cloud, so the last sound is here, da, cloud. So we can say that we will give the first line or the first sound letter A. That floats on high over vales and hills. Hills, z, z. So this is the last sound of this line. Is this sound like this sound? If the sound hills, z, is like the sound da? No. So we will give this line letter B because it's different from the first line. Let's go to the third line. When all at once we saw a crowd, d, d. Did you hear this sound before? Yeah, cloud and crowd. Cloud has letter A, so crowd has the letter A. Yes, yes, we start to understand. A host of golden daffodils. Cloud, hills, crowd, daffodils. So the last line ends with sound Z. So did we hear it before? Yeah, here hills and daffodils. Here the sound takes B and the same sound take the same letter, so it's letter B. So we can say that rhyme scheme, if you want to answer this part, focus on the last sound of each line. And it always takes, the first sound takes letter A. If you have the same sound, you will give the line the same letter A. If it has a different sound, you will give it B, and so on. And here we will have the last part of the main words you will meet or need in poetry. We can talk about the expression figures of speech. Yeah. You can here say that we will finish the last part here, it's figures of speech. So this is the last new word you will hear for this part, figures of speech. And to guess what does it mean, figures of speech, we can say that, what does it mean? What's this word? So figures of speech are some tricks. Really? Yeah. So figures of speech are some tricks that the poet does or use to make his words more attractive and different from our ordinary speech. So figures of speech is like tricks or some ways to express the poet's feelings. So the poet uses figures of speech by using some tricks to express his feelings by a different way from our ordinary speech. Oh my God, how can he does this? How can he use the tricks to express his feelings? Yeah. He can use the word figures of speech by some techniques. So here, he can use the figures of speech using some techniques, such as these techniques or these figures of speech mentioned on the screen. We can say that we have alliteration. Try to repeat after me at your home. Alliteration, simile, personification, contrast, metaphor, and order. So today we will talk about some of the figures of speech, some of the techniques that the poet uses to express his feelings by or with a different way. And we will try to explain it in detail. We will start with the first one, alliteration. So here, when you listen to the word alliteration, what does it mean? How can you find alliteration in the stanza? If you find two words or more began with the same sound in the same line, so this is alliteration. Miss, what does it mean? Again, so the word alliteration means when you find two words start with the same sound, like the word no and no. Be careful about the sound, not the letter. So the word no here starts with the sound na, and the word no here starts with the sound na. So two words start with the same sound, so this is alliteration. And look at this example that floats on high over vales and hills. High, ha sound, hills, this is ha sound. Two words start with the same sound, so this is alliteration. So here we can say that there is alliteration in this line. Why? Because we have two words start with the same sound. So here we finish the word alliteration. What's this word? Can you remember when I pronounce it for the first time? Yes, it's the word simile. Again, simile. So the word simile here, what does it mean? The poet used simile when he used the word like or as, in which one thing is compared to another. Okay, can you give me an example? Yeah. If I said to you, he is running like a cheetah. He is running like a cheetah. So here, I used the word like to make or to describe the boy that he is fast like a cheetah. So I use the word like to describe something or someone like another thing or another someone. So if you found the word like or as, and you found that the poet used the word like and as to compare between two things, this is simile. So if you understand what does it mean simile, we can go to this word metaphor. Metaphor. So if we said that simile is using like or as to compare between two things, here the word metaphor is a way of describing something by comparing it to something else that has similar qualities without, yes, focus on this word, without using the word like or as. Simile is with using like and as. Metaphor is without using the words like and as or as. And for example, we can say that he is rowing. The verb roar is related to lines. This is the sound of lines. So if I said he is roaring, so that means that I describe someone is like he is a line. But do I use the word like or as in this example? No, I didn't use the word like or as here. So I compared between someone or something with another thing without using the word like or as. So this is simile or metaphor, because we said that simile is with using like or as, and metaphor is without using like or as. And here we still have three techniques of figure of speech. We have the word personification, contrast, and order. Personification, let's start with it. Okay, if you use your IQ or your skills, you can say that the first part of this word is person. So personification, the first part of this word is person. So can you guess what does it mean, personification? Let's read. Yeah, to personify or represent something as a person, to give life to something that has no life. Yes, can you say it in a simpler way? Yes. We can say that personification is to make something as a person. To make something as a person. To give life to something. And here, for example, if you find this word, said the sea, you will ask yourself, can the sea speak? Of course not. So if we said this expression, said the sea, here I made the sea like a person. So here I can say that this is personification. So personification means to make something as a person and to give life for it. Still we have two words. We have the word contrast and we have the word order. We can say that contrast, what does it mean? If you find in the stanza two words with the opposite meaning, so this is contrast. If you find two words have the opposite meaning, so this is contrast. So, for example, if you find in the stanza the word up and down, so if they have the opposite meaning, so this is contrast. If you see two words have the opposite meaning, like good and bad, in the same stanza or in the same line, so that means that this is contrast. And this is like an extra information. If you find two words with the same meaning, this is equation. Okay, so opposite meaning, this is contrast, and if you have two words with the same meaning, this is equation. But we don't need this word right now. And the last one, we have the word order. We have the word order, and this is like the last technique we need to talk about right now. We have here the word order. What does it mean? If you find in the stanza a line which the arranging of the words in this line is not in the ordinary way, so you can say that, yes, I found here that there's something strange in the order of the words. So this is order. Again, if I said this word, said the sea. When you speak in English, you can say, the teacher said that we must do our homework. So we can say the teacher said, okay? Here, he didn't say the sea said, he said the sea. So here, we can find that the order of the words is not in the ordinary way. So I can say that there is here order in this line. Okay, I have the last technique. It's not written, but we will say it. Here, I can say that if I read the first stanza here, I can say that I'm busy, said the sea, I'm busy, think of me, making comes to be, I'm busy, said the sea. So, can you find any word or any line is repeated? Can you find it? Yeah, I can, or I'm sure that you find it. If you look at the first two lines, I'm busy, said the sea, I'm busy, think of me. I had the word I'm busy here. This is repeated words. So I can say that there is repetition in this line. I can say that there is a repetition in I'm busy. So here, let's go back to the figurative speech. We talked about alliteration, simile, personification, contrast, and do you remember what's the opposite of the word contrast? Can you guess? Can you remember? Equation. Yes, great. And we said metaphor, and we said order, and we said repetition. About these definitions, after these definitions, we can say that at this point, we can say that we finished the first session of poetry. If you feel that this is a little hard, don't worry, it's a normal feeling because you are listening for these definitions and these words for the first time. So don't worry if you are afraid that this is hard and difficult for you. Don't be afraid. Don't worry. It's very normal to feel that. So at this part, we can say that we finished the first session of poetry, and if you try to revise these definitions more time by yourself, you will be ready to start studying the first poem next time. So, I wish everything is clear for you. Next time, wait for me, and I'm waiting for you.